Richmond Museum of History, and the executive director, Melinda McCrary, is going to be talking to us about cultural uses of California native plants. So, hi, Melinda, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me today, Kathy.
Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can share yours. But let me say that if you haven't been there, the museum is housed in a beautiful Carnegie Library that was built in 1910. The museum recently had Peter Rohan of Land Spaces design a garden of plants that were used by the native Ohlone people to create textiles and for food and medicinals. And let's go now, Melinda, to you.
Would you please allow me to share my screen?
Yes, got
Thank
it.
you so much. Yeah, okay. Let me just open up my screen here. Okay, so I just want to say thank you so much to Kathy for all of her patience over the course of the planning of this. She and I have been talking about such a presentation for some time now, and
Oh, froze, Mike.
Oh, nope, that's on me. My bad. I am so sorry. One moment, please. I'm adding her back in. I was trying to spotlight her, but instead removed her from the room. She'll be back here in just a moment. So sorry, Melinda, that was on me. If you want to unmute yourself, you are good to restart. I apologize.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so I am just delighted to be here. I'm just going to start. So thank you so much for having me this afternoon. Kathy and I have been working on this for some time, and I, as many of you also do, have had a lot of demands on my time over the last year, and so I just want to thank her for all of her patience with me over the planning of this. So I am Melinda McCrary. I am the executive director of the Richmond Museum of History and Culture. I am also adjunct faculty at Contra Costa College. And so I teach anthropology at Contra Costa College. I teach 2 classes there. I teach a cultural anthropology course, and then I teach a course called Magic, Witchcraft, and Religion, which is very much anthropology of religion, which ties in to some of the plants, actually many of the plants that we're talking about, because as you know, indigenous people and plants and their natural environment are very closely tied. So I'm using a Prezi. This is a new type of presentation. It's called a Prezi. It's all online. And so we're going to take a little walk through our garden. Just checking the chat here too to make sure. Okay, so here is our Carnegie Library. Here are the partners that I'm working with. I also work very closely with the Sogorea Te Land Trust. And just to present to you, a little bit of from where I'm coming from is I am really just standing on the shoulders of giants. I am, working with information that was provided through written sources, through Native Americans themselves, through other scholars. So, I just want to put out thank you to those who have come before me to provide, the information that they have. Okay, so let's take a walk through my garden. Okay. Okay, so I first of all, I am very indebted to Peter and Jocelyn of Land Spaces. They designed and installed this garden, and I am very much I want to know all the information as well, and so I'm going to be upfront. This cost the design, and this is their planting plan, as you can see behind me, or excuse me, as the background. The planting plan cost $1,000, about $1,100 for them to, that was the cost. And then the actual planting, because the Land Spaces did all the planting as well, was about $12,000. So altogether, this cost about $13,000 to $14,000. The museum is supported by a grant through the San Francisco Foundation that supports our maintenance of the grounds. And additionally, we are working very closely. I am also working with the Ohlone people, the Confederated Villages of Lashan, and a wonderful woman named Deja Gould. Deja is the language specialist for the Chichenyo dialect of the Ohlone language. And her and I are working on a language interactive that you can come to the museum and you can hear Deja speaking the Chichenyo language on a TV monitor. And so some of the words that she provided to us are, of course, plants. And so what we're trying to do, our focus of this project is to extend the educational programs out to our grounds, beyond the inside of our galleries. And we have quite a large space, but you can see, so here's our typical landscaping. The typical landscaping and is still some of the area, some of our grounds are this typical landscaping, and they are non-native plants like blue oak grass and lantana. Lantana, I may not be pronouncing that correctly, I apologize. But so these are non-native species, and this was landscaped by a professional designer as well within the last, I want to say 20 or 30 years. And, rather than just having an ornamental space, I wanted to use it in the best way possible to be a good neighbor, not just to the humans in our neighborhood, but also to all of our neighbors and all of our relatives, including insects and, Mother Earth herself. And one way we could do that, of course, was to pull out some of these ornamental plants and put in native plants. And I am embarking on a long-term project to really change a lot of the grounds into native plants, but this area allowed us to, this area of the garden is really special because it does have that cultural plants with cultural significant uses.
Director McCrary, can I ask if you can full screen your presentation? In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's sort of two diagonal arrows.
I appreciate that.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, and okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so there we go. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And please feel free to help me out and give me any tips that may be helpful. Okay,
you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. So this area has 19 plants, and I'm not going to go through all of them because we do have such a short period of time, but I'm going to highlight several. And I am just making sure. Oh, great. Yeah. So, and this is the plant, excuse me, the plan that you see is literally the plan that was created by Land Spaces. And so I really liked to use this as the background for what we're doing, because this is a very new garden. This is a garden that was only put in January of 2021. We started the process last year, but as you're going to see, the plants are not very large, but it is kind of an interesting concept for what we're doing in terms of culturally significant plants. Okay, so we have Western redbud, we have soap plant, we have wire rush, bush lupin, currant, deergrass, tule, mugwort, buckwheat, strawberry, flannel bush, gum plant, monkey flower, coffeeberry, California rose, white sage or black sage as well, Yerba Buena, of course, and then California grape. Okay, so we'll start here on soaproot. So soaproot, and I have my notes here. So soaproot plant, here is an illustration of it that was created by a native woman. You'll see an image of her at the end. But soaproot is used in a variety of different ways. As its name indicates, it does have a sudsy quality, and it is used for soap. It is also used as a poison for fish. And poison is kind of a misnomer because the properties of the plant, you can put it in water and the soap will actually stun the fish. It doesn't poison the fish, which is actually so elegant because you can still eat the fish afterwards, right? But if you put the, you don't just, so let me start over, sorry. It comes in a bulb, right? It comes in a bulb, and it's a processing of that bulb, right? And the sticky, sudsy liquid that comes out of the bulb that is used for soap, and also used to stun fish. I'm also going to give you sorry. I'm also going to give you some resources. At the end. So if you want to, read the books, where did I get all this information, et cetera, I'm going to provide that to you. Okay. And I love to present soaproot first when we're talking about plants, because the most important thing I want you to remember about Native American Ohlone people in the area is that they are still here. They are our neighbors and our friends. They are working very hard to, continue their cultural traditions. And if you are not familiar with, I'm definitely going to plug the Sogoriate Land Trust and the Shumi Land Tax. If you are interested in native plants and the work that Native people are doing, then I suggest everybody go check out the land trust and pay their Shumi land tax. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But Ramona Garibay is an individual. She lives in the Fremont area, and she is still seeking out and processing soap roots. You can also make soap root brushes. Okay, so there's a specific type of brush because of the hairy, composition of the bulb, right, is fibrous. So it can be processed, and it can be used as brushes. And actually, Ramona is really well known for her soap root brushes. Yes, there's some all kinds of wonderful resources online through the East Bay Regional Park. I'm just looking at the chat. East Bay Regional Park. Also, the UC Santa Cruz Arboretum has a lovely guide for ethnobotanical plant uses in California. It's fantastic, and that's available online. Okay, so Ramona here she is. And this is specifically from Bay Nature Magazine, this image. So you can learn more about Ramona and the work that she's doing around soap plant in Bay Nature. And so this is the actual area of the plant garden, of our garden, where the soap root is. Okay, and like I said, we don't have they're not huge plants, but they are still there. Oh, I'm moving. Okay, moving forward. I feel you, Pete, because you have so much information. Hold on a second. I'm getting back to I have to minimize a couple of these. Okay, so here we are. So now we're going to go to Flannel Bush. So Flannel Bush is another plant that we have in our, I almost said in our yard, not my yard, but in the museum. And flannel bush gets its name because it has these hairs on the bark and on the stems. But flannel bush rather is used for many medicinal purposes. It is also it's an anti-inflammatory, and it actually comes from the bark of the plant. And actually, the older the plant, the more the older the plant, the stronger, if you will, the properties, the medicinal properties are. So it is extremely useful, not only internally, but also externally. You can, oh, thank you for the link on the UC Santa Cruz native plant uses. So you can use flannel bush internally, but also externally as a poultice. You can also, or excuse me, the native people would also use flannel bush because it was quite pliable and flexible to use to make animal traps or snares. Cordage. One thing that we as scientists, that's not preserved in the archaeological record and that we miss a lot of is cordage and weaving. And cordage and weaving was integral to Indigenous people's lives. And that's something that's not preserved in the archaeological record. So, you know, that's a big area of material culture that we may miss as scientists when we're looking at how people used the natural resources in the environment. Okay, so I'm just looking here. Poultice, sore throats, ulcerous stomachs. I also read somewhere that it was used for as a poultice for arthritis, sometimes as a sort of laxative as well. Okay, but it's also quite beautiful. So it's also going to be a really nice addition to the garden because there's going to be a lot of flowers. Okay, so coming back up to the main planting plan. I'm coming back down and I'm just wondering, can everybody see as we move around on the Prezi?
Yes, I think so.
What's that?
Yeah, yes, I think you're good.
Okay, good. Just wanted to check. Thank you. Okay, so Yerba Buena. And let me just make sure if I'm in my, yes, in the correct order. So Yerba Buena, of course, is what the original name of San Francisco was after the Spanish arrived. They named Yerba Buena after this plant. And one person that I always think about when I think about Yerba Buena is Juana Briones. And Juana Briones was not a Native American woman from the San Francisco Bay Area. She was actually a Californio, but she was also known as a healer and a medicine woman. And she lived in Yerba Buena, what is now known as or what we knew as Yerba Buena. And so as a result, it's a very cool little connection between Juana Briones, who lived in the 18th century, and then this plant today. Okay, so Yerba Buena is in the mint family. It's a vine. It's a vine, and it grows in long vine-like plants. Excuse me, that was not eloquent. But Yerba Buena is used for infections. It was used for in teas as remedies for cold, for fever, stomach ache, gas, menstrual cramps. The Chumash Indians, which are down near Santa Barbara area, would use it to treat worm infections, parasites. One thing that's important to note about a lot of these plants is that as a result of historical changes in the landscape, many of these plants are no longer widely available in the wild. And so there are, you know, you should take into consideration all the federal, state, and local laws, as well as moral laws, right? If you are trying to gather any of these things from the wild. But the other great thing about all these plants is that they are available widely in all of the wonderful nurseries that we have here in the Bay Area. So that's another great thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to my. Okay, so deer grass, so Yerba Buena is medicinal mainly. And another thing that I want to say is I am not giving an exhaustive list of all of the uses of all of the indigenous people, right? This is a relatively short period of time. So, I'm giving a very quick overview, of course, of the materials and the uses of some of these plants, and only a few of them, of course. Okay, deer grass. Deer grass is another one of those plants that's not widely available in the wild anymore, but this is used for basketry. Just moving over to my notes here. So deer grass is a perennial bunch grass, and it is very it's a very important plant for basket weaving. And if you I recommend, if you are not familiar with California Indian basketry, please go seek out some information about how and the beautiful artistry of California Indian basketry. It is among the most skilled in the world. Our basket weavers made amazingly beautiful baskets. And even more interesting to me, because I'm a Ohlone specific, I'm a Ohlone centric, if you will. I really I love learning about the Ohlone people and how they lived here in the Bay Area. And the Ohlone people actually made a really complex type of basket called a wallahine. And I'm happy to answer any more questions about a wallahine later on. There's only a couple of them available in the world, but one of them is actually held in Pacific Grove. So there's actually one in California, which is unusual. A lot of the baskets went to Europe because of the early explorers. But we have a tiny little deer grass, right? Tiny little deer grass. And yes, the California Indian Museum has an amazing basket collection. But yes, so deer grass here. Okay, so deer grass was valued for its strength and flexibility. They were often made to be watertight. You could immerse the baskets in water and then they would expand and become watertight. It's estimated that one cooking basket could require 3,700 stalks of deer grass. So imagine the patience and the time consuming the time that's consumed just gathering materials. And it's become more and more difficult for modern weavers, because people are still weaving, modern weavers, to find deer grass because it's not commonly available. This is a tiny little deer grass, right? Deer grass is often much larger than this. But and this is a basket that was made by our illustrator, the Native American illustrator that I'll introduce in one second. So Tule bulrush is another plant that we have. We have a water source that feeds this marsh area here. And so we have, the Tule is quite large because we had it in a pot previously, but we have 3 patches of Tule. And of course, Tule was important to Native peoples because it was used for making boats, the balsa canoe. It was also used for matting, to make mats, or to make bedding, to make aprons, to make the homes. So it was used in a variety of way. Tule is a a marsh plant, so it does need water to survive. It's often found on the bay shore, but that makes it useful also for making a boat and things like that. So I'm moving on. Okay, so going home. So here we are. So I want to introduce you a little bit to all the people who have worked on this project. And if you want to learn more about us, you can learn all about everybody. Here's more information about the websites. We are open. The Richmond Museum is open the garden is open, as well as the interior. And we have a new old mural that you might want to check out. It's quite wonderful. I mentioned before that I firmly believe in the mission and the work of the Sogorea-Te Land Trust. And Sogorea-Te is a woman-held land trust that seeks to rematriate the land. And so it's really wonderful the work they're doing to bring some of the land in the Bay Area back into Indigenous held land trusts. The woman who made the illustrations of the plants is named Beatrice Orgel. She is in Hayward, and she's also she's from a tribe up north, Karuk, Hoopa, yes. And then here's Land Spaces, which is also Peter and Jocelyn's company. You should check out their work because they were wonderful to work with. And then finally, here is Karina and Deja. Deja is the language specialist who was able to translate some of the words for us. And you can learn more about the Chichenyo language and Native people just in general at the Richmond Museum. We're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 1 to 4 right now. And I think I have maybe 1 minute for questions. 1 minute for questions.
It's hard to know what to ask you. There's so much. So thank you for sharing the costs of the project. And let's see. Somebody noted in the chat that you, Melinda, are a local treasurer. It was nice to see that. I think you mentioned where one could go to see the baskets. Does the Oakland Museum have any baskets?
Yes, the Oakland Museum has many California Indian baskets. They actually, and they're displayed really wonderfully as well. The museum has a handful of baskets. The Richmond Museum has a handful of baskets. Ohlone baskets are not easily found because, as I said, many of them are in Europe, but also the California State Indian Museum in Sacramento also has amazing baskets.
So I'm wondering, do you need any help with the Richmond Garden? Do you need some volunteers to help?
Yes, we're always seeking volunteers. And in fact, we're having a garden cleanup event next week, May 8th. The museum is located in the Nevin Park complex. So it's in a large complex and there's going to be a park cleanup, but we are also having a free day next week too. So if you wanted to come in on the 8th, if you're looking for an event, something to do, we are going to be free next week, but we're all on Saturday, but we're also open Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, good. So thank you so much, Melinda, for that.
Thank you.
And real quick, Melinda, where should they email you if people are interested in volunteering or coming? Where should they turn?
Thank you. That's a really great question. So you can find all of our volunteer opportunities on volunteermatch.org. So that's a great place you can go to find and just search under Richmond Museum of History. And if you want to visit, you don't have to email me. You can just come on down. But if you want to get in touch and talk more, I'm happy to. It's richmondmuseum.org.
Got it. Thank
and
you.
then next week, if you're interested, I believe it's next week, we have Rick Flores from the UC Santa Cruz Arboretum, and he'll be giving a talk on edible natives. So Melinda, I want to thank you for taking the time to show us your demonstration garden, and I wish you all success with it. I look forward to seeing it in another year when it's really filled in some.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, you have a nice day. Thank you.
You too.